Brendan, thanks for the opportunity to speak with your class. And Demi, thank you so much for joining us today. Demi was recently on a Future Frogmen conversation that we did talking about NOAA. Demi is the Northeast Regional Coordinator of NOAA's Marine Debris Program. And we had a great conversation with her. That is available to you on our website, futurefrogmen.org. So you might want to check that out as a follow-up if you haven't seen it already in some of our other videos. And please consider subscribing on the website so you can learn more about the things we're doing. And if anyone wants to get involved with what we're doing, we'd love to hear from you. Brendan has my contact information, and you can also reach me through the website. But, and Brendan is, Demi, Brendan, as I think you know, is the science department chairman at the Grauer School. And sounds like an awesome class you have there, Brendan. So with that, why don't I turn it over to you, Demi, and you could maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background and what you do with NOAA.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so nice to talk to all of you. The first thing I want to say, just in case anything crazy happens on this call, is that unfortunately I am in South Florida right now. That's my hometown. I had to run home about 3 weeks ago for a COVID related family emergency. So I'm here in Bradenton. It's a little bit south of Tampa. So it doesn't look quite like New England around just yet, but that is the region that I take care of for the Marine Debris Program. So I'm at my granddad's house. If a lovely older gentleman pops out this door at any time on the call, please forgive me. I told him that I was talking to some students this afternoon, but he doesn't always remember everything I say. So he might join us at some point unscheduled as well. But we'll welcome that participation. But in general, I am the Northeast Regional Coordinator for the NOAA Marine Debris Program. Our mission is to prevent the adverse effects of marine debris in the ocean and Great Lakes. So we do that through 5 different pillars. That's prevention, coordination, research, emergency response, and regional coordination, which is where I come in. So there's 10 of us on the team, and we sit in NOAA offices all around the country. So we have a California regional coordinator for where you guys are. We have a Pacific Northwest regional coordinator. I am the Northeast regional coordinator, so I get to help with projects in Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. So any partners that are doing marine debris work, whether that's research or removal or education in those 5 states, I help make sure that we're all working together towards common goals and that we're not reinventing the wheel over and over, and try to get everybody on the same page and connected to the partners that can help them most, and just make sure that marine debris is on track in New England. And I am really excited to talk to you. I was just saying that a lot of outreaches and events are unfortunately being canceled because of the pandemic. So I think this is a great opportunity for everyone to just be online and still reach out. And I have typed up some answers to the questions that I got already. So I'll unfortunately be reading from my screen, but I'll do my best to answer your questions. And if there's anything that I don't answer today that you think of later, your teacher has my email address, so feel free to reach out absolutely anytime. I'm happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much. That's really generous of you. And thanks to both you and Richard for your time today. Kids seem very, very aware of their role in both the good and bad, and their contributions to preserving natural resources and natural wonders, and also some of the things we're doing that we could do better. So very, very thankful to you both for your time and energy today. And kids have generated some really good questions, I think.
Maybe I could ask you, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and then your role, and then we'll roll right into the questions. How about?
Perfect. Okay. So I grew up here in San Diego. I went to UC San Diego and got an undergraduate degree in biochemistry. One of the last classes I took was actually a marine biochemistry class that really, really seemed like a great yoking together of so many different things that I'm passionate about. I grew up surfing. I grew up in the water, body surfing, beachgoer, sailing, all the above, and feel very, very, very much glad that the beaches are closed right now under our social distancing mandates, but definitely am missing those resources. I've been teaching at the Grauer School for 14 years. So I came in pretty much fresh out of my undergraduate degree. And I've taught so many classes under the sun: math, science, health, PE, you name it. And for the last 5 years, I've been teaching chemistry, which is definitely my wheelhouse, but I've been teaching marine bio for about 7 years, I think now, maybe 8. And I really, really love all the stewardship opportunities that we're participating in. We do, we're members of the Surfrider Foundation's Blue Water Task Force. So we do, not so much now, but we have been doing water tests for ocean quality with different bacteria levels. We're very much able to get to the beach often with our proximity to the ocean. We're only a mile away, less than a mile away from the beaches. So we definitely do a lot of field trips under normal circumstances. And I love working with these kids. These are really multi-talented people, a lot of passions, very artistic, scientific, great writers, and feel very fortunate to also serve as a science department chair to kind of help usher in new ideas and really promote student work.
Thanks very much. So why don't you guide us through however you want to run through the questions, Brendan?
Yeah, so the students have kind of identified their questions. So I figured it would just be best to encourage them to ask them in this order. I'm going to post the order of the questions one more time since it'll be available in the chat box, and it's only visible to people who, it's not visible if you enter in late. So let's go on down the list. Who had our first question here?
That was me. I was going to ask, how does climate change affect large debris events, and kind of how debris is entering the ocean? Based on your
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think, unfortunately, my answer to a lot of these questions is like, wow, great question. We're still figuring that out. So if you hear me saying that over and over, it's just because the science on marine debris is relatively new. And we are still figuring a lot of things out, especially with climate change, because it's adapting and evolving all the time. But I do have some thoughts about climate change and marine debris that I can share. So first of all, changing wind and weather patterns is going to affect our ability to predict where the debris is accumulating in the marine environment. So it will make it more difficult for us to assess where it is, and therefore even more difficult than it already is to clean it up. It's also going to make it challenging for us to understand which species might be the most heavily impacted, because if where the debris is changing either geographically or within the water column, it could affect different species of animals depending on where their habitat is. So all of that is kind of in question and in flux. The other thing to think about is precipitation. If we have lots more heavy precipitation events that generally wash debris from cities and kind of centers of human populations out through the sewage and the wastewater systems into the ocean, that could cause kind of acute, severe marine debris influx to go into the ocean all at once. The other thing to think about too is, as polar ice caps melt, it's going to make the ocean less salty and therefore less dense. So the plastics that are in the ocean might sink more readily than they are currently doing now, which again will make it harder for us to find them, harder to clean it up, harder to know what they're affecting. So I think all of that is still kind of, we're trying to understand the relationship and how it's evolving, but I think all of that is things on the radar.
All right, thank you.
Our next question had to do with how climate change affects debris. So maybe that ties in with your first response.
Yeah, I think all the same answers, just wind and weather, whether it's sinking, where it's located, how quickly it's photodegrading in the ocean, because of course you guys know plastics don't biodegrade, they just photodegrade with the sunlight and the wave action. So if those factors are altered, it might change how quickly the plastics are breaking up into smaller and smaller pieces and making even more microplastics. So all of that is still stuff we need to figure out.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a complicated puzzle. Okay, I'll turn the attention to our third question. Who generated that question there?
I did. It was, what do you suggest we can do as an audience to help this issue? And by this issue, I mean the large debris events.
Yeah, that's the most important question, right? Good question. And I think, of course, it's going to be up to individuals. You know, there's definitely action that needs to be taken at the government level and at the industry level to help with the amount of plastics that are being produced in the first place. But it really is going to come down to each individual and the small actions, especially students. You guys are the power, and people generally listen to students much more than they listen to adults. So I think take everything that you learn and show examples of how you want things to change. Join us in the marine debris field, start working on the science and conservation. Anytime that I have the chance to talk with high school or college students, I always talk about our marine debris action plan, which you can look up the California one as well. I think in California, they call it the ocean litter strategy. But what we generally do in each of the regions as a marine debris program is we get all the partners that work in our region together and we create these action plans. And they're a list of generally like 70 to 100, 120 actions, and different partners sign up to do different pieces of it. And it's a way for us to track progress across the region and make sure that we're all working together. They're usually 5 years at a time. So every 5 years we'll generate a new plan. So getting involved in those, seeing real world examples of how people are dealing with these issues and finding solutions and working together, I think all of that is stuff that you guys have the power to do. You're obviously smart and well-versed in the science. So I think you should use all of those skills to your advantage and to the advantage of all the rest of us too.
Thanks for watching. For more information, visit our website at www.futurefrogmen.org.